lot of suffering has transformed an ex-con into an honest man who is doing his best to make the world a better place.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're looking at criminals who transformed their lives and found success.
It was more about maturity. I started getting older, and so consequently I started realizing this is not the way I want to live my life.
Georgia Durante, a model from a young age. Georgia Durante once appeared as the famous Kodak girl in the 1960s. Then, life took her in an unexpected direction. At a mafia-run nightclub one night, Durante found herself driving an injured man to the hospital. Her stellar driving earned her a reputation, and pretty soon, she was running deliveries for the mob.
And I later found out they were actually the CIA, who was laundering the money for the mob in foreign countries.
But when she graduated from deliveries to getaway driver, Durante knew she needed to get out. She went on the run.
They escaped, but she knew her days in front of the camera were over.
Modeling was no longer an option since she was trying to keep a low profile, so she again relied on her driving skills. At first, she had to beg for work, but eventually, Durante became a highly successful Hollywood stunt driver, appearing in many commercials.
Then I realized you can never see the driver. I said, that's perfect, I can do that.
Junior Johnson. Before he was a NASCAR icon, Junior Johnson was a famous bootlegger. In fact, he was busted for running the biggest moonshine operation in the United States. Born into a bootlegging family, Johnson started running moonshine with his dad and brother.
I basically was in the moonshine business when I was a young boy.
He enjoyed working on his cars to better evade the police who patrolled the area looking for moonshiners. Because he was such a good driver, he was never once caught. But when his family's home was raided, he was arrested.
This resulted in the Johnson family raid, where ATF officers busted up the largest moonshine operation in American history.
He served approximately 1 year in federal prison. Following his release, Johnson dedicated himself to stock car racing and helped form the sport into what it is today. He won 50 Cup Series races and was inducted into the NASCAR Hall of Fame.
Junior Johnson was now a 6-time champion. It was a long way from the moonshine runs of the 50s to the Waldorf Astoria in New York City.
Quasi Ufume. When his mother died, Quasi Ufume dropped out of high school to support himself and his 3 sisters. Unfortunately, he eventually turned to a life of crime, hanging out with gang members and spending some time behind bars.
And I struck out by hanging out with gangs, running through the streets.
According to Ufume, something came over him during a craps game in 1972. In an instant, he understood he needed to turn his life around.
Fortunately for me, I got out of that by the age of 22.
He dropped his birth name, Frizzell Tate, and adopted the African name Quasi Ufume. Then, he got to work building a new life. He ran for Baltimore City Council, winning by 3 votes. From there, he served 9 years in Congress and became the chairman of the Congressional Black Caucus before taking over as president of the NAACP from 1996 to 2004.
I have not given up on the American idea or on the American possibility.
Jeff Henderson. Chef Jeff Henderson was the first black chef de cuisine at Caesar's Palace, and he didn't stop there. His resume includes several other notable accomplishments. He was the first executive chef at Cafe Bellagio. He's also a renowned public speaker and successful author who's penned 3 best-selling books. In 2008, he launched a competition cooking show on Food Network called the Chef Jeff Project.
Collard greens. I grew up on collard greens, love them to death. There's so many different things you could do with collard greens.
Several additional reality cooking shows followed, but before he found fame in the kitchen, Henderson made his living as a drug dealer.
And it's a part of my life that I'll forever pay to society.
He was busted in 1988 and spent 10 years in prison, where he was put on kitchen duty. During his time behind bars, he discovered his passion for cooking and ultimately decided to turn his life around.
In the prison kitchen, I was able to be coached by men who helped me see the value in myself.
Juliet Hume. British novelist Anne Perry published several best-selling murder mysteries during her career. But a shadow was cast over her achievements when news broke that the acclaimed author was a convicted murderer.
Of course I would like to be known as a great writer, wouldn't all writers?
She was born Juliet Hume. Suffering from tuberculosis, Hume was sent to New Zealand in hopes the warmer climate would help her health. There, she befriended classmate Pauline Parker.
I've got scars. They're on my lungs.
The relationship became all-consuming. When Hume's parents decided to send her to live with relatives in another country, the pair was desperate to stay together. They hatched a plan to kill Parker's mother because they knew she would not let Parker move with Hume. On June 22, 1954, they went through with their plan. Hume served 5 years for her part in the murder. Danny Trejo. With hundreds of movie roles under his belt, actor Danny Trejo is a familiar face for moviegoers. Known for portraying tough guys and hardened criminals, Trejo draws inspiration from real-life experiences.
In my neighborhood, you could either be a laborer or a criminal.
Before he made it big in Hollywood, he was in and out of prison for years, serving time for robbery and selling drugs. When he landed behind bars, he was also suffering from substance use disorder. While in solitary confinement, Trejo enrolled in a treatment program and found faith.
It was almost like the good Lord said, okay, let's see what you got.
He later went on to earn his high school diploma. Following his release in 1969, he dedicated himself to helping others achieve sobriety. His first acting break happened by chance when he was asked to be an extra in Runaway Train. He played a convict. Piper Kerman. Born into an upper-middle-class family, Piper Kerman attended a prestigious university and lived a mostly ordinary and privileged life. Things took a turn when she began a relationship with an older woman who happened to be a heroin dealer.
Eventually, she asked me to do something for her, which was to carry a bag of drug money, and I did it, and it was a terrifying experience.
Kerman decided to join in on the action, and for several months, she laundered money and transported drugs for a Nigerian drug kingpin. Her dalliance with crime was brief, but a few years later, it caught up with her when she was indicted for money laundering and drug trafficking.
It was very shocking, obviously, to get that knock on the door many, many years after I had committed that crime.
Kerman served 13 months in a minimum security prison. She wrote a best-selling memoir on her experience behind bars. Orange is the New Black, one of the first mega hits of on-demand streaming, was adapted from her book.
Did you ever stop and go, oh my goodness, how'd I end up here?
It has been a really busy few years.
Dave Dahl. Dave's Killer Bread is the most popular brand of organic sliced bread in the United States. Founded in 2005, the company is recognized for using wholesome, healthy ingredients. It's also renowned as a second chance employer, a meaningful initiative for founder Dave Dahl.
I rose up through the ranks of petty criminals.
Before impressing people with his killer bread, Dahl served time in prison for numerous offenses ranging from burglary to assault. Behind bars, Dahl enrolled in an addiction treatment program and tried to turn his life around. Upon release, he joined his brother at the family bakery. There, he developed a new bread recipe, and Dave's Killer Bread was born. At first, he sold his bread at farmers markets. Eventually, local grocery stores began to sell it, and soon it was everywhere.
I'm just happy and proud that my baby has made a difference in the world.
Kevin Mitnik. Once heralded as the world's most famous computer outlaw, Kevin Mitnik spent time on the FBI's most wanted list during the late 1980s and early 1990s. Before landing on the list, Mitnik did a short stint in prison for hacking into the network of a major computer company.
Did it ever occur to you that perhaps what you were doing was wrong?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was an invasion of privacy.
Following his release, he resumed his illegal activities until a warrant was issued for his arrest. He spent 2.5 years on the run before his apprehension. The case stoked controversy, with supporters insisting some accusations against him were false. Nevertheless, Mitnik pleaded guilty to a bevy of charges, including 4 counts of wire fraud. When he was released, he started a computer security consultancy and spent the rest of his career advising others on cybersecurity.
Because of the cable, and now I'm able to take full control of this computer as the hacker.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Frank Abagnale. Famously portrayed by Leonardo DiCaprio in the Steven Spielberg movie Catch Me If You Can, Frank Abagnale is known for his elaborate cons. In his heyday, he impersonated pilots, forged checks, and stole thousands of dollars. In total, Abagnale claims to have assumed 8 different identities during his daring life of crime.
Please, it's just $5. No one would have to know.
He was locked up on multiple occasions for his various criminal offenses, but eventually, he decided to turn his life around. He even wrote an autobiography detailing his illegal exploits.
For the last 4 years, I have a firm in Houston, and I do consulting work for large corporate banks and department stores and stuff like that, on how not to get ripped off.
Nowadays, the fraudster-turned-author spends his time speaking at events and providing expert advice as a security consultant. The veracity of some of his claims has been questioned in recent years, but embellished or not, Abagnale's duplicitous past continues to fascinate the public.
I truly believe I was able to accomplish all those things because I was just a teenage boy.
Are there any other criminals who famously turned their lives around? Let us know in the comments.
I didn't cheat. I studied for 2 weeks and I passed.